When I first saw this vintage photograph, a photograph that was supposed to be of old Bryn Athyn, I had no idea what I was looking at. Eventually, somebody, probably Justin Odner, pointed out that this is a view looking north along the Huntingdon Turnpike from the driveway in front of Glenhurst. Let's take a closer look at this photograph and try to figure out exactly what it is that we are looking at. If you look on the right, you can see a telephone pole just north of Glenhurst's driveway. There's still one there today. Here is Glenhurst's driveway. And then we go up the pike, and you can see that the pike goes downhill and sort of swings to the right. And then it comes uphill again, swinging to the left. And then you see another probable downhill before swinging to the right again and ending up with that building in the distance. Before that building in the distance, you can see several buildings to the left. They appear to be a farm and perhaps a couple of barns. Now, if we go back over to the pike and you look just beyond that evergreen tree in the foreground, it appears that the road dips down again before coming back uphill and swinging off to the right. Now, to help get our bearings, let's look at an aerial photograph of the same area from Glenhurst up the pike to Byberry Road. Here is Glenhurst and the intersection of its driveway with the pike. Then we travel north on the pike, and you can sort of see a turn to the left, and then you can sort of see another turn over to the right before an even more pronounced turn over to the right when it meets Byberry Road. Before we look at some vintage maps, let's take one more look at the photograph. Here is a very old map of the same area. If we zoom in, we can see the intersection of the Pike and Paper Mill Road where the toll house used to be. And then if you travel north on the Pike a little bit, you can see the farm of Mr. Knight. That's Knight's Hill, where Caronwood is today. Now we go up the pike some more and we see some houses. You can see the old Sorrel Horse Hotel at the intersection of the pike and what is now called Spur Road before the pike bends off to the right to meet Byberry Road. Now, if we travel south on the pike again, we can see several buildings like the Shellmeyer's store, the home of Mr. Robinson, Mr. Propert, and a school. And on the other side of the pike is the home of Mr. Stout. I wonder if the Stout property later belonged to the Hugh Gyllenhaal family. And here is another vintage map of Bryn Athyn. And we can zoom in again on the intersection of the Pike and Paper Mill Road. You can see Knight's Hill. And then if you travel north, you can see those same properties. There's Mr. Propert's property, and on the right, you can see the home that was once occupied by the Gyllenhaal family. Now what do we have here but a stream traveling underneath the pike with a bunch of buildings just north of that on the west side of the pike. If you look at this modern day screen capture from Bing Maps, you can see where the stream goes underneath the pike right at that second dip. Here is a different vintage map showing the same area. We will talk about this map again at the end of the video. Now back to the photograph. There is the first dip in the road right there, and the second dip is just past that evergreen tree right there. I suggest that the stream runs under the pike right at that second dip, and the buildings are just beyond it on the left. Now let's look at this aerial photograph on display in the cathedral. Please pardon the glare. There's Glenhurst. And over here is where Glenhurst's driveway meets the pike. Over here is the house that was at one time occupied by the Gyllenhaal family. Then let's follow the stream across the pike where the second dip is. And there are some buildings right after that stream. Further up the pike are more buildings. I think that's the Sorrel Horse Hotel, but I'm not sure. And in this photograph, I think that might be the sorrel horse in the distance, but again, I'm not sure. Back to the sorrel horse. I don't really see Spur Road, but the pike clearly bends to the right and intersects with Byberry Road. We have talked about these buildings, but what are those other ones that are behind in the distance? Let's go back to a vintage map to see what lines up. Let's zoom in on the Cairnwood property. And then just north of that, about where the letter T is in the word turnpike, that would be where Glenhurst was. And cross right over those buildings near the stream and end up in the distance at two other farms. They are along Byberry Road. I will guess that we can see the one on the left or the south side of Byberry Road. Let's zoom out and take another look at how well the whole thing lines up. I hope you have enjoyed your tour of this photograph.